Hey, for great. Let's get into another successful week of our virtual learning. I read all of your comments on how you guys are adapting to virtual learning at home, and I love them. It seems like quite a few of you are really enjoying it, and it's a success. So I'm very happy for that. Now, let's get into this week's lesson on yes, fractions again. So I know you see the anchor chart behind me, and yes, we are working on fractions once again. But I can honestly say you guys are coming along. You have been doing amazing at home on equivalent fractions. So I want us to keep up the good work. So this week, yes, we are going to be working with equivalent fractions again on a different level. And I also feel like this week is not as challenging for you guys, so it should be a smooth ride at home. Ready, set, let's go. This week, we will be learning how to compare and order fractions with the same and different denominators. First, I will be teaching you how to compare and order fractions with fraction strips. And then I will be teaching you how to compare and order fractions using multiplication with the same common denominator. So, as always, you are going to need your materials, and this week you'll need a notebook to take some notes, a pencil or a pen, and you'll also need your fraction strips. So, I'll give you a minute to grab that. Ready, set, go grab your things. As you can see here, I have a couple of definitions for you. I like to get the definitions out the way so you guys can already have a feel of the definition once we start working through our examples. So our first definition is factors, and we are very familiar with factors because we have already went over factors when we were in school, but I decided to write the definition down and give it to you guys once again just to freshen your memory. And factors are the numbers you multiply together to get another number. I'm going to read that again for you. Let me slow it down also. Factors are the numbers you multiply together to get another number. And an example would be 2 times 2. When you multiply 2 times 2, you get what? 4. Yes, you get 4. So that means 4 is a factor of 2. Another example, when you multiply 4 times 4, what do you get? 16. Yes, you get 16. And that means that 16 is a factor of 4. Now that we got that back down the way, let's go over our second definition. Our second definition today is lowest common denominator. And lowest common denominator means the lowest common multiple of the denominator of several fractions. Again, lowest common denominator is the lowest common multiple of the denominator of several fractions. That definition seems a little tricky, right? As we go more along and we get into the examples, you'll understand it quite more. Example number 1. Let's start with first compare and order fractions that have common denominators. And as you can see, we have 3/4 and we also have 1/4. Right now, I'm just going to shade in the parts to represent the actual fractions that we have written down. Let me grab 2 different colors. I'm going to start with 3/4 and I'm going to shade in 3 parts. Then I'm going to move over to our 1/4, and because 1 represents the part and 4 represents the whole, I'm going to shade in 1 part. Now, as we can see here, that 3/4 is definitely greater than 1/4. Now is where we have to add in our greater than or less than sign. And I want to just take a minute to review our greater than or less than signs in case you guys may have forgotten a little bit. So this is our greater than sign, and this is our less than sign. Now let's start with these fractions: 3/4, 1/2, and 5/8. And what we will be doing with these fractions is putting them in order from least to greatest. Now, let's take a look at the denominators. As we can see, we have 3 different denominators: 4, 2, and 8. But we can also see that 8 is a factor of 4 and also a factor of 2. I like to start with a fraction that has the greatest numerator, which is 5/8. So let's start off with 5/8. And right here, I'm going to put 5/8. And I'm going to draw a fraction strip. Now, you guys don't need to draw a fraction strip. Why? Because you have your own fraction strips made already at home. So now I'm just going to break this fraction strip up into eighths. First, I like to break everything down into a half. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we have it. We just made a fraction of eighths. So our fraction reads 5/8 though. So let's color in 5. Or you can just put in a different color over your 5. I'm going to color mine's blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there we have it, 5/8. Now I'm going to move on to our second greatest fraction, which is 3/4. And when we take a look at our denominators, we can see that if we divided 8 by 2, and I'm going to write it right here, just very small in the corner, 8 divided by 2 equals 4. So now we know that we can put our fraction strip half of 8, because of course half of 8 is 4. That's why we did 8 divided by 2, which gives us 4. So now I'm going to make the same fraction strip, because if you guys can recall, when we made our fraction strips, we made our fraction strips all the same length, which was 12 centimeters, because that's the length of our ruler that we made. So now I'm going to break it up again into halves, and then I'm going to this time break it into 4 different pieces. And this fraction reads 3/4, so we have to shade in 3 parts of our 4. Let me grab a different color. 1, 2, 3. And there you have it, 3/4. And last but certainly not least, we are going to do our 1/2. Same fraction strip, right? And as we can see, 2 is half of 4. So what would we do? We would do the same exact step that we did the first time when we did 8 divided by 2, which gave us 4. Now we are going to do 4 divided by 2. And of course, I'm going to write it just right here, very small, which equals 2. And now I'm also going to break my whole fraction strip down into 2 different pieces, which is showing us. Let me grab a different color. And there we have it, 1/2. Now let's put our fraction strips in order from least to greatest. And as we can see here, which fraction strip is the smallest? 1/2, yes, 1/2 is the smallest. So I'm going to put 1/2 right here. Next in size, we have 5/8. And last but not least, we have 3/4. So now that we put them in order, we need to add our greater than or less than signs. So we are putting the numbers from least to greatest. And of course, the sign always eats which number? Yes, the biggest number. So that means our compare sign should look like this, which is showing us that 1/2 is less than 5/8, and 5/8 is less than 3/4. We have just compared fractions using fraction strips. Yay, that was fun, right? So I need you guys to definitely hold on to your fraction strips, because later on this week you will be using your fraction strips to compare fractions. I will see you guys next week, and have a great day on purpose.